Hello. In this clip from our Justia webinar, The Secret to Career Transitions That Are Epic, Scott Mason shares his thoughts about how to build an effective plan to obtain professional freedom. If you want to see more Justia videos on law practice and legal marketing, be sure to subscribe to our channel.
Then you move to building out your plan. So you want to, first of all, list 1 to 5 business or career or professional choices that match you, that will ultimately take you to your vision and that are consistent with your mission statement. And you want to identify them in order of preference with a brief explanation as to why, and then you want to rate how realistic they are. And when you think about rating how realistic they are, don't just think about it again in terms of, well, this is achievable or not. That's part of what you want to have as part of your realism rating. But you also don't want to squander the opportunity to have a career transition that's epic by going into something else that even makes you more miserable. So begin to also rate, or considering your rating, how happy that would make you to be that person doing that. Then engage in basic training on networking so you can begin to surround yourself with those people who can help you get where you want to go or can get you those resources. And networking is a skill. I wish they taught networking in law school. Unfortunately, they don't. But it is a skill that is every bit as important as any other skill that we learn in law school. The key things that you want to figure out based on what you've identified so far is, where do you go to network? For instance, if you are wanting to be this climate change person, then you may want to find groups or conferences that deal with climate change and that have executives in that space around. Or you may want to go to become involved in political action groups that are connected to this, or other sorts of places. Then what are the basic protocols of networking? If you have not networked or learned how to network, it may be a shock to learn, it certainly was a shock to me, that there are certain rules around networking. There are certain things that you do to be viewed as a master networker, and there are certain things that you never ever do. And so spend the time to understand what are the rules of networking and begin to apply those. And part of that will avoid making networking icky. Before I started to really network, and with a lot of clients that I work with, they say exactly what I felt all along. Networking is gross. They imagine people sitting in some conference room with cheap croissants in the background, handing out business cards or grabbing for business. That's not master networking, and that is icky. What you want to do as a networker is be something very different than that. So really learning about how to network is the way to avoid being that. There are incredible resources out there on how to network. 2 that I recommend are listed below. One is a book, Foundational Networking, by a lawyer named Frank Agan, who founded a business networking group in the Midwest that actually kind of rules the Midwest. So he truly is a master networker. The book is great. And again, him being a lawyer puts him in a position where he's able to relate to a lot of the challenges that we face. And as you can suspect, he's someone who went through this exact sort of transition that I'm talking about, and we're all here discussing today. And then an interesting one is by a man named Rob Thomas. He's not the singer, although sometimes I'm sure he wishes he was, but he's an incredible networker. And what I like about Who Do You Need to Meet is it explains exactly how to network up. It explains exactly how to identify who will get you to those people that you need to help you along on your journey. He also goes into a lot of detail about how to successfully navigate and leverage your presence at things like conferences and trade shows. I find trade shows and conferences overwhelming, but after reading that book, I have to admit I can confidently go into those things and actually move my life along. And I've seen other people who apply what he does at all sorts of situations I've been in. I don't know, these people blow me away. I'm just so impressed. And I want that to be you. So let me move the screen here. All righty. Then finally, you want to get to the real meat, which is building your actual plan to take all of the stuff that you've learned, your vision, your mission, your career ideals that you've ranked, as well as then to implement your networking skills and get you from where you are today to that future that you're so excited about engaging in and living. And so what needs to happen for that to occur? First of all, again, sort of implementing those networking steps will then put you in a position where as you have more and more conversations, you begin to gradually narrow down exactly what the career is. And as you do that, you're also going to want to, as you're talking to people and meeting them, figure out whether the problem that your new career position is there to solve is actually a problem for anyone. And if not, what are the pain points that people in an area related to the area that you want to get into actually have, and are you positioned to do that? So, for instance, if going back to this climate change activist career transition, if your goal is to be somehow connecting large-scale international and national climate policy with grassroots activism, well, are there already organizations that have that locked up? And are they doing it so well that no one actually feels that there's a need for that role? If so, that may be something to consider, because there's no pain point that you would be resolving. There would be no need for you to be in that position. If, on the other hand, you are, if there's no one solving that, everyone is saying is talking to this about says, oh my God, I wish someone was doing that, then that's gets you thinking this isn't a great idea. Let's say you want to move and become a CFO somewhere. Well, what is the problem that a CFO solves? And are you, in the way you position yourself and as you think about your career, going to be the ideal person to solve that problem for employers that are good matches for you? So figure out who has the problems that your career transition would enable you to be the right person to solve it, and then build a case using all of those legal persuasion skills that we have learned, all those case building and issue identifying and all these other things that we just naturally do as lawyers, to explain to everyone you meet why you are the best, most unique and valuable solution to the problem that they have. Every CEO you meet, I am the best CFO solution to your problem. Every climate CEO or executive director that you run into, this is what I do. I am the solution to your problem. I'm the only one, and I'm the best one too. And once you have that messaging down, you're going to begin to have clarity as to exactly what that new role looks like. And then you're gold, because you can begin to really set up a plan that's meaningful, targeted, and specific. You put together a formal action plan that includes the major goals that you need to achieve in order to get there, the big picture things that will take you from here to now. Then you also want to include action steps and timelines, and look at that every day or every other day, and calendar your progress based on what those things are, or calendar your activities. It says today that I need to send out inquiry letters to 5 potential employers in this space. Okay, put that in the calendar. Did you do it? And then check that off. And if you do that, you will see incremental but consistent process. You want to have that self-discipline to follow through with that plan, but most of us don't. For many of us, reading the newspaper or going for an extra yoga class or something else can be a lot more appealing than taking that next step, particularly if you're in a day where you're like, things aren't moving as fast as I want. And so that's why I really recommend that you get some sort of accountability partner who understands this plan, who works through it with you, and who meets with you to talk about your progress on it. It can be a spouse. It can be an adult child if they're the sort of person that is really good at making sure that you're accountable. Or it can be a coach. It can be a colleague. It can be an online tool. All of these sorts of things will keep you moving forward. And then once you have that plan in place, I recommend that you start declaring who you're going to be to the world. Why? That puts pressure on you. Us lawyers tend to be people that respond well to pressure, because that's what deadlines are. That's what everything that we do is high pressure and it's high stakes, whether it's making, following court rules and having your submissions in on time, or making sure that you have that contract completed by the date that it's supposed to be signed, all these sorts of things. So lawyers, more than many groups, respond to the pressure of an external commitment and what that can create. But then it also allows you to be able to shift that internal monologue about who and what you are. If everywhere you go, you're saying, I am the top climate change liaison ever in the United States between grassroots and national people. You're going to start to begin to break some of those toxic myths we talked about at the very beginning of this discussion. And you might want to even, in certain cases, begin to put it out on platforms like LinkedIn. Now, how do you do that? There is a book by someone named Mark Halpert, who has presented before Justia before, and you can look him up. He's excellent on exactly how to utilize LinkedIn effectively as a platform. By the way, it's not just good for declaring your intention, but as you are updating your resume, if you are looking for another job as part of this transition, or if you go into entrepreneurship and you want to put yourself out there for people to buy your services, having an up-to-date quality LinkedIn profile is a huge part of what needs to be in your plan. And so he has a book called LinkedIn Marketing Techniques for Law and Professional Practices. It was published by the American Bar Association. In terms of credibility, you don't get much more credible. Now I always say if it's good enough for the ABA, it's good enough for me. So look up some of his stuff here in Justia, or get his book from the library or purchase it through Amazon. It's an incredible resource. And then make sure that you're always considering ethical obligations. Now, I've listed some here. They are in your supplemental materials as well. Some things to think about are that if you are in active practice when you're making this transition, make sure that you follow all the rules around advising your clients of the change, about preserving their records, about making sure that you are, selling your practice if that's relevant, or terminating your relationship. The confidentiality obligations that are in the various ethical rules extend beyond the actual date of your engagement, of your formal engagement with the client. So make sure that you're aware of what those are and that you follow them. And if you are, and that goes as to conflicts of interest as well. And then if you are a government employee switching, make sure that you are in particular paying attention to the ethical rules, which in the model rules as of June 2024 specifically have some provisions relating to government attorney transitions. And then if you're no longer licensed, for heaven's sake, make sure that you are following the ethical canons with regards to holding yourself out as a practitioner. Now, I listed the model rules, but it goes without saying, I hope, that you also need to check the local rules and regulations for the jurisdiction that you are licensed, or jurisdictions that you're licensed to practice.
Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did enjoy it, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more videos on law practice and legal marketing. See you in our next clip.